Hi, Morg. It's just Facebook Live. We have an old dog, and anytime we say hello now, she'll bark. But if somebody knocks at the door, she doesn't bark. Now she's getting her toy. Anyways, hi everyone. My name is Crystal. Thanks for joining me on this Facebook Live. Today we're going to be talking about perception and your dog's perception and fears and insecurities, and if you can change them, and how to do that. So, one of my favorite workshops I attended was about, 4 years ago, 5 years ago maybe, and it was called Perception Modification, and it was by Casey Cover, who is an animal behaviorist trainer. So she works with zoos, not just dogs, but big animals. And one of my favorite stories about Casey was there was a rhino who had like a nasal polyp, and for months, veterinarians from all over trying to get a biopsy of this nasal polyp to see if it was malignant or benign. And so for months, no success. And then Casey Cover comes over and she does her perception modification. And in like 20 minutes, she gets this rhino to hold still so she can stick a very large needle in this rhino's nose, right next to its giant horn, and get a biopsy of the polyp. Rhino did not maul her. It did not hurt her. It just stood there and let her do it. And I was like, what? I need to know your magic. And so I attended her workshop and I learned perception modification. It's not something we use a whole lot, but when we do use it, it's not always 100% as, I don't want to say 100%. It's not always perfect, right? Every dog's different. Some dogs it really clicks with, other dogs it doesn't. Some dogs it clicks with, but the people, the human side, doesn't catch on, and so it doesn't work. So our whole philosophy on training is trying to find that right method that works for the whole family, dog and people alike. And so that's where perception modification comes in. And so what is perception modification? Well, there's two parts in teaching perception modification, but basically perception modification is changing your dog's perception on reality. So typically if your dog was afraid of getting its nails trimmed, perception modification would change his perception on the nail trimmers and getting his nails trimmed. We've done this with a dog who had to get eardrops and was just an 8-month-old sheepadoodle puppy that was crazy. And so its mom could not successfully give him eardrops without getting hurt because he was just all legs and flailing all over the place. So we used it on him to help him be calm and change his perception of getting his drops put in. We've used this on a standard poodle who suddenly started having some reactivity and aggression on walks when walking with his other female house dog that lived with them. And so when he was by himself, he was fine. But if the female dog was present, he was very macho and would bark and growl and lunge at other dogs in the neighborhood. So we used it with Zeke to help him change his perception of walks in the neighborhood so that he could actually enjoy them and his mom could enjoy them, walking both him and his sister dog from the same house at the same time. So what are those two parts that I was talking about in achieving perception modification? Well, the first one is what we call name and explain. And name and explain is a process that kind of ties into the second part, which is conditioned relaxation. So name and explain is where we do like a deep tissue massage on specific parts of the body to show the dogs the difference between an alert state muscle and a relaxed or easy state muscle. So very much like as humans, if you are an anxious person, me, I tend to be very, I tend to hold my body very tight and like I clench when I'm driving the steering wheel. I like grab it so hard, like I sometimes will get like little not calluses, but little blisters here that it's just because I'm just an anxious person. I don't even know why I do it. I have to remind myself to relax. And now that I'm aware of my anxiousness, I can control it and cue myself to relax. So that's kind of what we teach dogs. So once they become aware of how tight they're wound up and how anxious they are and how easy they are to trigger because they are holding themselves so tight, they can control how to get to that relaxed state. And not only can they control it, but they know what that relaxed state feels like. And if you've ever had a deep tissue massage, it may not feel good in the moment. Some of those muscle groups might be kind of sensitive, but once they get that muscle relaxed, you're like, oh yeah, this feels good, totally worth it. And dogs are very much the same. So that name and explain is a deep tissue massage. There's 3 parts. So there is what we call banding. So for the skinny parts, dog's leg, or for even some muscly dogs like pit bulls, you can kind of do like a banding bear hug. But banding is where you squeeze kind of tight and then you let go. And so by doing that, you're kind of squeezing that already tight muscle, making it even tighter than it is. And then by relaxing your hand, it forces that muscle to relax to an even more relaxed state than it was prior. And then there is, the typical deep tissue massage that you would do at a massage, like getting a massage. So not superficial. We're not petting dogs. We're not rubbing them. We're actually sticking our thumb down into that muscle group and rubbing it hard. And so sometimes when I do this, I'll see dogs kind of snap their heads back and look at me like, what are you doing back there? Sometimes they might even kind of nip at me with their teeth, not aggressively, but just enough to say, hey, that's weird, that's different, or maybe that kind of hurts. But my favorite part, just like with us humans, when you get that muscle and it does kind of hurt at first, and then it feels good, like those dogs will do that. And we're not holding them down. So these dogs that kind of look at us funny, when it gets to be too much, they literally walk away from us, and then they'll come back and offer that same body part again. So if it was, let's say I'm working on their thigh muscle and I was getting in there and it was kind of hurting them and getting a little tense, they might look at me, give me a dirty look, because dogs do that, and walk away. And then they'll come back and offer me that same thigh, like, okay, now do it again. And so that is, that's that deep tissue. And then the other one that's not done on humans is what's called a scruff pull. And for some dogs, that's very therapeutic. For other dogs, it maybe doesn't work. So again, there's 3 types of massage because every dog's different, right? Every muscle type is different. So how we approach it is kind of a little bit of a trial and error thing to see what works for that dog and what works for that part of the body. But a scruff pull is basically grabbing your dog's scruff, pulling up and holding for a few seconds, and then not just letting go, but holding, pulling up. And then when you're, let's see, go this way. Yeah. Okay. So when you're holding up, you're pulling up for a few seconds. And then when you relax, you're just going to relax your hand back down to the neck and let go of their skin. And so that it is a very rhythmic feeling. So those are the 3 types of massage or touch for the name and explain. And so as we're doing this, we are also naming this part of the body. So we can say, this is your right arm. This is your left arm. This is your left leg. This is your back leg. These are your eyes. For dogs who get very fixated on things, we want to do the conditioned relaxation on the eyes by naming them. This is your head, your tail. Ooh, this is one of my favorite things. If you have a pit bull that has a tail like a whip, you can do perception modification to teach them. If you want to go say hi to someone, you need to stop wagging your tail. And our pit bull, his tail would go crazy. And I would say, if you want to go say hi, you need to stop wagging your tail. And his tail would go crazy. And then it'd be like, and then just the very tip of it was just like wiggling, just the very tip. And he's like, I'm trying so hard. And it was just amazing to me. And of course he got to go say hi because he was doing his best, and that was amazing. And then nobody would have welts on their legs from the pit bull tail. So perception modification, there's the name and explain where we're naming the major muscle groups. And then we're going to tie that in. It kind of just evolves into conditioned relaxation. And that's when we say this muscle is really alert. Do you feel it? We want this muscle to be easy. And then when that muscle is easy, when it feels like jello, because sometimes they feel like a hard-boiled egg and then they're going to turn into this jello feeling, then we're going to mark it and say, yes, that's an easy right leg, or that's an easy left arm. Can you give me an easy right arm? And so we start to condition them or to cue them to offer us those easy muscle groups. So we do that through the whole body, and eventually we get to the point where we have done enough deep tissue massage and conditioned relaxation where we're naming the parts and saying, can you give me an easy right arm? Can you be easy on the cot? And their whole body's down except maybe their head. And we can say, okay, your head's still alert, but can you give me an easy head? And they'll lay their head down. I'm like, yes, that's amazing. So once we get to that, it's what we call a toggle. So we can say, can you be alert? And of course they stand up and they get crazy and playful. And then we say, can you be easy? And they just literally like deep, it reminds me of like a deep meditation yoga, like when you're at the end of your yoga routine and they have you lay on the mat, and you're just supposed to like relax. I fall asleep because I have kids and that doesn't ever happen where I get to lay down and not be spoke to, but I always fall asleep. I don't know if you're supposed to or not, but that's what it reminds me of when we toggle those dogs to that easy state of mind. Like they literally just lay down and they're just like, yeah, this is great. So that's easy. So once we get there, then we start to make it practical in real life. So what does that look like? Okay, so let's go to Monty. Monty was the 8-month-old sheepadoodle I was talking about who had some ear infections. And we don't normally want to take a dog in for a board and train when they're sick, because who wants to learn something new when you're not feeling good, right? You're just not 100%. Your body's healing. It's already exerting more energy to get you back to your normal stasis. So we just don't like to start. However, we had already postponed Monty's start date several times because his ear infections, his mom just couldn't successfully put the drops in because he was crazy, like tornado dog. I don't know if you have a dog like this, and if you don't, good for you. But if you have a dog like this, wowza, he was crazy. So we said that we would take him in for his board and train, but we're not going to start training until his ears are healed. And so we were just going to basically board him until we could get his ears back to normal. So the first day, it was one of those near, I want to say near divorce moments, but it was a pretty tense moment between me and my husband. As Monty comes in, we knew we had to give him these ear infections and we knew he was crazy. But I'm trying to coach my husband, Eric, on how to restrain Monty so that he can't hurt me. Not that he was going to bite me, but just legs flailing, heads banging all over the place. Tornado, right? A tornado of skinny dog limbs all over the place. And so I'm yelling at Eric to hold him, and Eric's yelling back that he's holding him. And it was awful. Like, I really wish, in the moment, I was proud that we did not record it because I was so embarrassed and humbled. But in hindsight, I wish we would have recorded it because it was hysterical. He gave me a fat lip. I had a bruised eye right here on my occipital orbit bone right here. I had a bruised eye, a fat lip. I mean, he was nuts. And the whole time I'm doing this, I'm trying to do perception modification. And you would think, well, that seems like a stupid time to start it. Well, it was the only time. That was it. Like, he's just crazy. We just need to do it. So, pulling our pants up, strapping them on and getting in there. He just was nuts. So what we did, if this was his eardrops, I would let him smell them and say, Monty, these are your eardrops. I know you don't like them, but I need to put these in your ear. Okay, do you feel this? This is your left ear. So it might look like your right ear on Facebook Live. I don't know if the camera's backwards, but this is your left ear. Okay, are you ready? I'm going to put these eardrops in your ear. Okay, here I go. And I would just drop them in. And the whole time he's flailing around. Like, I am not feeling like this is going well. I'm feeling like I just wasted all this money on this workshop. It is not applicable. He's nuts. This is awful. So we go to the next ear. Okay, Monty, these are your eardrops. Do you smell them? Okay, you ready? I'm going to put them in your right ear. So I massage his right ear and name it. This is your right ear. Do you feel it? Okay, I'm putting the eardrops in. Here I go. And I drop them in. The whole time he's just flailing all over the place. And so me and Eric thought epic failure. So the next time it was due for his medicine, we literally waited to like the last minute. We're like, okay, his medicine is due like right now. We have to give it to him. So we get him out and we do the same process again. Okay, Monty, here's your ear medicine. I know you don't like it, but I need to put it in your left ear. Do you feel this? This is your left ear. Okay, I'm going to put it in. You ready? Drop it in. He didn't move. Like, okay, weird. This must be a fluke. Eric, still hold him tight because I'm going to go to his right ear and I still don't want him to headbutt me. And so we do the same thing. Okay, this is your ear medicine. This is your right ear. Do you feel it? Okay, I'm going to put it in your right ear. We drop him in. He didn't move the whole time. And at the end, when I was done with this ear and kind of rubbing it in, he looked at me, made eye contact, looked me directly in the eyes like, is that what you wanted me to do? And it was just amazing. I'm like, yes, get him treats. This was so good. And so even though that first time felt like I wasn't getting anywhere, we were. And he was listening. He didn't know how to handle the eardrops. He didn't know what was expected of him. And so kind of like, to me, people that have fears of spiders and snakes but have never been bit by one, to me, it just seems like an irrational fear. Like, you don't even know why you're afraid of them. Like, they haven't even hurt you. If they hurt you, I get your fear. It seems legit. But if you haven't, like, to me, I'm not afraid of things. I don't know. I don't understand. I'm not trying to like throw anybody under the bus, but I just don't understand. And so for him, it was this irrational fear of the eardrops. Like, maybe they did even give him a little bit of a burn going down, but it was in his best interest to get it. And we weren't mean people. His mom wasn't a bad person. She needed to give him these drops because she loved him. And so when we started to change his perception of the drops and what we were asking of him, he completely changed his perception in receiving the drops. So that was Monty. Another dog that we did this on was Zeke. I wrote it down because I forget. Zeke was a black poodle who was, he did really great through his program training with us. And then all of a sudden he started to get reactive on his walks when his sister dog was present in the house. So not sister by blood, but sister by house. And so he would get very macho and territorial and, you know, try to bark at all the other dogs to let him know that this was his girlfriend. And so we did perception modification with him as well. And so when we do the toggle from the alert to easy state, in practicing, there's really no distractions. It's just the dog and a room, and we're toggling from an alert state, which is just out and about, up and awake, moving, being crazy, or just walking, to easy, which is laying completely flat on the ground. So that's what we call practice, right? The practical run of actually doing this in real life. We're walking through his neighborhood. There's a corner where a dog has an underground fence, so he looks like he's going to run right at you, but he always stops in his yard. And Zeke would go nutso. Like, it was the worst dog on the block for Zeke and for Zeke's confrontation. And so we're walking with the female dog and Zeke. And Zeke starts to get all puffed up. His chest puffs up. His shoulders go back. His head leans forward. His tail goes up. He's meaning business. And I stopped walking and I said, Zeke, you're being very alert right now. And I need you to be easy. If you want to keep walking, I need you to be easy. And he went from this to letting out a breath, looking at me. And we just kept walking right past it. He didn't make a peep. So that's perception modification. That's what it does. Yes, you absolutely can change your dog's perception of reality and how they react and how they communicate to their exterior environment and stimulus through a very simple process. So I don't have any links. I should have looked them up beforehand, but if you just Google perception modification or Casey Cover, you can learn all about her and her amazing things. And this is something that we do work with some of our families, not all of them. Like I said, it just doesn't apply to everybody, and they just don't, it just doesn't click very easily. So it is a learning curve, but it is one of those things that when it's needed and when it works, it's amazing. So that's perception modification. I hope that clarifies some things for you, for the families that have worked with us and have went through this, or for families who didn't know it existed. And I hope you know that there's an option now that can help you in your dog's craziness. We've done this for dogs getting their nails. We've had client dogs that have had to get muzzled and sedated to get their nails trimmed. And then they come here and we do some perception modification and we're trimming all 20 nails and the dog's just laying there. It's amazing. So don't put your dog through that kind of stress if you don't have to. There is a better way, and it's called perception modification. So if you have any questions, please post them in the comments. I'm sure I forgot to mention something here on Facebook Live. So if you have a question, please put it in the comments, and I would love to get back to you. Otherwise, I will see you guys all again next week at 12 p.m. If you like this video or you know someone that it can help, please share it on your page or tag your friend in the comments, because we make them to help, and we can only help with your help. So help us help others. All right. Thanks for joining in, guys. We'll see you next week. Bye.